Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on Influencing on Camera, the podcast. I have my very good friend, Michelle Mras, here today. How's it going?
Great. Of course.
So, Michelle is one of those people that is like everything. She's like a speaker and a singer and a voice actor. She's in like movies and is on TV. I mean, every time I turn around, she's doing something different. And I just love that about her. She has come from two different walks of life. And her story is really empowering and sad and then happy and exciting. But I'm not going to ruin any of that because it's all in her book. But Michelle, the reason I really wanted to talk to her today and bring her on for my group and my fans is to talk about speaking. So with Michelle, when I first heard her talk, it was pretty amazing. But over the years, her talk is like changed. She's one of those people you can just walk up to and be like, okay, Michelle, tell me what it's like to be a voice actor. And she can just like talk about it for whatever length of time you give her. I mean, she's that type of professional speaker. She coaches other speakers on how to speak, how to hone their talk. I mean, she does it all in that industry. So Michelle, let's talk about speaking. How does it help people with their businesses?
You cannot have a business unless you speak. And so when I have people tell me, I don't do public speaking. Have you gone to the grocery store lately? Have you picked up a phone? Have you walked into an elevator and said, please press that button? If you've said anything outside of your space here, congratulations, you are a public speaker. And so that's really what I think about with public speaking in business. It's like air for your business. You must be able to communicate what you sell, share, produce, whatever it is. Because if you can't communicate it, you don't put it out like you believe what you're doing, no one else is going to believe it.
So I think a lot of people are hesitant to say that they're speakers or even get on stage to speak because they're afraid. In your experience, where does that fear really come from?
Fear from going onto the stage comes from caring. So what's better than to care? So it's when someone says that they're afraid, I do, great. Now let's convert that and use that energy to not be boring on stage. I do teach this a lot, and it's because I believe, well, not believe, I know how you feel on the inside. So I call myself a communications coach. How you feel on the inside is really what you project on the outside. So whatever you're doing, selling, producing, if you can't get it into your head as this is the best thing, I support it with my heart and soul, don't talk about it.
And like when people talk about, okay, Michelle, that's a great idea. I love to speak, about my business or whatever, but I don't have a talk. How do you help people figure out their signature talk? Like if you were to tell my listeners one thing today on how to sort that out, what would you tell them?
Honestly, what I tell my clients is when you tell me about what you do, and everyone always tells you the technical thing of what they do first. And I do, okay, why? Why do you do that? And they do, well, because, and they go into this backstory. I do, okay, let's start with the backstory. What about that backstory triggers you to the point of this made me why I do this? And they do, well, it's just because, I saw people suffering and I wanted to do this. That's it. So let's work around that story, the emotional trigger of what made you become whatever you wanted to talk about or do or produce.
And that's so true. I mean, I know that I came from that same thing the first time we talked. I talked about what I did, but not really the why behind it. And that was a really, really fun pivoting point for me with talking to you. I know a lot of people say, oh my gosh, you can make so much money from speaking. You can do this, that, and the other. And there are people that are motivated to speak that aren't afraid, have their talk, but they get no traction. So if you were to say a speaker must have the following things in order to get on a stage, what would those things be?
A why. Yeah, really, number one. You must have a why. Number two, because if it's an emotional why, you're going to connect with the audience and people will call you back. You need to be, I'm losing the word. It's not integrity. You need to have it ingrained in you. You have to believe in it. Believe so much that that passes on to the other people. People are not connecting with speakers because statistically no, we don't care about numbers or anything. Why do you listen to someone? Because they're exciting, because they pique your interest, because they hold your interest, because you gain something. So a lot of people have things to talk about. but then they don't have a stage presence. Then you
Mhm.
have people who have a stage presence who have nothing to talk about. So really what you need to do is you put those things together and then you have this magic serum. Now, connecting and being human on stage, that's really the magic. I don't advertise because people call me back because it's just simply like me. They know that I'm there and I care. And when I'm up there, I'm giving you my heart. I'm giving you it all. I'm not there to sell you. So if you've got something in your mind, oh, I'm going to go on that stage and I'm going to make millions of dollars because people are going to, no, that's exactly what's going to make you fail. So remember, when you go on there, be sincere, be authentically you, and know your why and stand by it.
I love that. I love it. And one of the things that you teach in your class, I don't want to give too much of it away because you have so much to give, but you talk about the inner animal, the predator thing, which I just loved. And it's not like Predator, like the comic book that I think some people are thinking, because a lot of my listeners are total nerds like me. But you talk about everyone has this like predatory animal, and you need to hone into that and really take control. And remind me again, what is yours?
I'm a panther.
Yes. I think I said it wrong one time. I think I called you a cougar, and then that implied that you were like on this other track of what cougars mean in pop culture. So we won't get into that. But when she does talk about this whole emulation she does, and she wears like these really stylish, beautiful, tall pumps. And when she walks in those, I mean, she just like becomes one. And I watched her give this demonstration in a live class, and she looked at this woman and she's like, hello, food.
Hello,
And it
food.
was so perfect. So, how do people, I guess, discover their inner power speaker animal thing? How did you figure yours out?
Well, honestly, I become a different person in the room. I mean, I'm the same person, but when there's a room of people, I realize I walk differently. And there's something about it. And it's like, why was I doing that? My shoulders go back, my head goes up, and I stop worrying about, what are people saying about me? You go into a big room, you're like, that scared squirrel thing. Looking at me for.
Yes,
And
I got that.
you got that. I would go into a room and I would just, it was like this energy pull. And my shoulders would go back. You see me walk down a hallway in a hotel, I do the same thing. My
Mm-hmm.
shoulders are back, my head is up, and I almost just kind of gracefully walk through this room. And I'm like, what? That's that to me. And that's what brought me through the whole, I call it spam. But when I go into a room, the acronym of spam, I'm going to give it backwards to all of you. Okay? MAPS. Magnetism. That's what keeps people captivated when someone's speaking or walks into a room. We all meet someone when we see them walk into a room, the whole room turns and watches them. That's
Yep.
magnetism. And it can be taught to a certain degree. So, magnetism is one of those things that it's like the roadmap to success for a speaker. You need to learn how to turn that magnetism on. How do you do that? You build an attitude that no one is better than you and you're not better than anybody else. So when you walk
Truth.
into that room, it's I am. Take me or leave me. And I'm one of you. And I'm giving this really fast and high level, okay? M, magnetism. Pump that up. And the way you do that magnetism up, I forgot to say that, is by music. So M is really music. I go into a room and I have a song in my head. So whatever song makes you feel powerful or, you know, makes you want to talk to people, that's what you put in your head. Can I sing real quick?
Absolutely, because you've got a
Okay.
great voice.
So when I walk into a room, let's say on a stage, I walk in and I say in my head, I'm every woman, it's all in me. And so that's what goes in my head. And then when I go into a room of networking, I have another song and it's, good morning, it's nice to meet you. And it keeps you peppy and smiling all day. So whatever song it is that pops into your head to keep you in the mood that you're supposed to be in. So music. Then there's the attitude that no one's better, no one's lesser. And
Yep.
then the last is that predator thing. And what I was saying, when I walked, I realized that when I have that music in my head and I've got that attitude, I walk a different way. And so I ask my clients, what's in your head when you're walking? I realized I was walking like a cat, not a normal cat, but a predatory cat, a panther. And I'm like, wow, but I'm not a mean person.
No.
I'm like, no, it's the predator, as in, I'm not afraid.
Mm-hmm.
I walk in that room like a cat that does, I know where my food is. Okay. And I know who's my equal, and I know who's afraid of me. And that's where the hello food came from. Because when you're in the room and you feel intimidated, people who are very confident can see it and feel it. And so I tell my clients, you need to get that music in your head, that attitude that no one's better than you in that room. You own that room. You own the floor that you're walking on. So what predator is in your mind? And it doesn't always have to be a rawr predator. I mean, I know I have several clients who are dolphins. A dolphin actually is a
Yeah.
predator, okay?
Yeah, they
But
are.
when you think of a dolphin, you're like, oh, they're so cute. No, they're actually really vicious the way
They're
they're
super
predators, you know.
smart. Yes.
You know how they eat, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
they work together as a
they
group.
they work like a team, and they
Hmm.
make a vortex around, let's say, tuna. They
Hmm.
make a vortex around them. They swim and swim. So the tuna gets stuck in this vortex in the middle. And then each dolphin takes a turn by going down
Hmm.
as this turns and go through the center with their mouth open. And they jump
Yep.
out and eat and come through.
I love that. That's a
We're like
great.
crazy. They may be flipper, but they own whatever room they're in. So don't think when I say predator, I'm thinking, eee. I'm saying own it. You could be a tarantula for all I care. Whatever it is that makes you feel, I've got this room, no one's scaring me in this room. Because that's really what it's about. So your maps to your whole, your magnetism is you've got to have a song, you have to have that attitude, and you have to have that predatory thing going on. So that's your, yeah, that's
And I love that because I actually was able to fully discover what my predatory animal was in this last year, with everything, the craziness and the speaking I've been doing, thanks to your support and others, and giving me the help and the tips that I needed. I actually figured out that my predatory animal is an octopus. And here's why. Not that, the legs or anything like that or how I move, but what people like about my speaking is that I'm funny. I don't try to be funny, it just happens. But for me, it's a defense mechanism because I'm nervous, because I'm uncomfortable. And I was like, oh my gosh, octopi do the same thing. They do like the changing of the colors and they like move really quick and they get more weird. And that was for sure my situation. So evidently that is what I am. And yeah, they totally prey and they hunt and they're super smart. So I'd like to think that that's my situation.
I
So
love it. I love it. So think about
yes.
that. If you're out there wondering, what's my animal? Play with it. I do it because I walk like a cat.
She does. She does. And she's got great style. I have to like throw that out there as well. You know, a lot comes from how you present yourself, all this nonverbal communication. Michelle teaches a lot about it. But one of which is your clothing. And she's not teaching with the like, you must always wear Armani and blah, 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 because she has a podcast called Denim and Pearls. And it's a lot about authenticity. But, if you are in an industry, let's say you're, a weight trainer or whatever, or like Val Jones, who was a former Olympic figure skater, they dress to their audience and who they're talking to. They don't have to go in there, wearing her old skating outfit and being all prissy. She's just like, yeah, I did that and I got broken and I went back and did it again. And she's got like this attitude towards her and her attire matched it. And I just love that about what Michelle teaches, but she does have great style. And she's a model. I forgot to say that. She models jewelry and clothing and everything else like that. So yeah, Michelle will just be straight up with you on it too. Polite, but direct for
Very
sure.
direct.
Even you can see it if you're watching the podcast online. One of my favorite pictures of her has the denim jacket over a really beautiful dress. And it's like my favorite headshot of her ever. I know she always has new headshots and things going on, because Michelle also has this amazing weight loss story too. I mean, when I first met her, the way that she looks versus how she looks now, her health change that's happened over the years, she is like unrecognizable. And every time I see her, she's like getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So I never know. I bought you a dress once and I don't even know what size you are anymore because you keep having so much success. So
Yeah,
how
the dress you bought me is too big for me now.
is it? Well, that was a medium. So that tells anybody about sizing stuff. But I wanted to ask you, as far as that's concerned, because a lot of people are very concerned about how they look on stage. You actually battled with that when you were severely overweight versus now. if there's somebody else in that situation, what would you tell them to make sure that they don't allow their physique to get in the way of their message?
Same thing I told myself. So when I did my TEDx, I was 389 pounds, and I was terrified that people were going to make fun of me. And then I had to realize, and this is what I told myself, my message is far more important than what people think of my shell. If they are looking at my shell and don't hear my message, then they are not my audience. I don't care what they think. And so that's what you've got to remember. Your message is far more important than whatever you think you look like, because we are very hard on ourselves. And if you look at my TEDx, if you go to my website, it's the main video on my website, michellemras.com. And you're not going to recognize this lady to the lady on my TEDx. But I can tell you, she didn't look that bad. And the story was amazing. So don't let your physical appearance stop you. Don't let your voice stop you. Your message, if it's been planted in you, if it's inside of you to want to come out, it must come out. Let it out.
And I feel like this is very true. We're going to adjust the topic a little bit to authors. There is this Stephen King book that, talks about an author's journey, so on and so forth. And I feel like a lot of people out there feel like they need permission to become an author, become a speaker. And he writes in the book, if you need permission from someone, take it from me. If you're not able to give it to yourself, I grant you permission. How does that, in your opinion, help people really get rid of these blinders of, oh, I'm not this, I'm not that, no one's going to listen to me?
Well, it's the same thing about being afraid to go on stage because, I don't want to go on stage. And what if I fail? It's the same thing. If you're afraid to write that book or afraid to get on stage or afraid to be who you really are, it's because it's where you're supposed to be. So my idea of all of this is, all my life I was afraid to be on stage. You've heard my story. I wanted to go on, but I just couldn't because I don't want to fail. I'm going to look stupid. I'm going to take the limelight from someone else who's supposed to be there, blah, 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 blah. But here I am in my 50s, and it was exactly where I was supposed to be. So when someone says, I don't know if I should write that book, the idea came in your mind. I believe when an idea comes in your mind, you're supposed to start moving on it now. And if you're afraid, go through that fear, because what you truly want, what you really want, the thing that you don't want to fail at is on the other side of that fear. So keep moving towards it and do one itty bitty thing. It doesn't have to do, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to write it by next week. No, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to start a folder of quotes that I like. And then I'm going to start writing my little stories. I'm going to stick them in with my, whatever it is, one thing a day. It doesn't have to be jumps of mammoth, 2,000 steps. One gesture a day towards your dream. Whatever makes you afraid, move that direction. And you will find that, you're going to look back and go, whoa, I finished the book. A lot. So let's do it. Stop waiting. Everyone has these ideas in their head and they don't move because they're afraid. Think about, what's that? Alexander Graham Bell. He wasn't the first one to invent the phone. There were a couple of people who put in the same idea. He just happened to be the one who put the patent in first or something, So when an idea comes out, it happens to many people, but the chosen few are the ones who actually move. Be the one that moves.
Oh my gosh, everything you say is like a perfect quote. I'm gonna have to start stitching these onto pillows. One of the things that you do really well, and I'm sure all of us have seen speakers out there that they do like 10 minutes of content and the next 45 is just selling their products, their services, their books. You have this wonderful way of, I would almost call it opening the door, like subtle selling. You bring your books, you sign your books, you treat everybody very, very well. That's on, the IT side, my side, the filming and the AV guys and everything, that you treat those people very, very well. But how is it that you seem to sell out of all of your books at every event you go to without ever saying from stage, and I wrote these 2 books that for those of you that know how I teach the background, she has both of her books in plain view. They're the only ones you can really see. I love it. I'm so proud of you. How do you do that?
Be authentically yourself. I mean, really, people connect with who they want to connect with. And if you're up there and you're busy thinking, okay, when I finish this, I'm going to make sure I sell. We are animals at our base, okay? We can
Right.
feel when someone's up to something and it turns you off. I'm up there sharing. If you want to connect with me, I'm back there. You know where I am. And so really that's
That's
where I am.
very true.
I'm not there to sell. If you like me, you want to know more, you want to get connected, you'll come to me. Why? Because you want to, not because I told you. There's a big difference there. And that's why I don't sell from the stage. So when people do, we want you on the conference, but you're not allowed to sell. Fine with
Okay.
me. I have no intention to sell because I want to connect. I want people to know, like, and trust me. And that's
Mhm.
not going to happen in a 30, 45-minute talk on stage. And they're going, I love you. I want to be with you forever. No, it doesn't happen that quick. There
Well,
has to
some of your audiences do. I've seen it
I
myself. Let's be
know. I
honest.
know. I do. It's like, take my money. No, no. I want to know you. So let's get on a call and let's talk. I've got a 15-minute call. You can get on my website and click and say, connect with Michelle for 15 minutes. Come on, let's talk. Let's find out, am I someone you really want to talk to? Or do I know someone that I can connect you to that would be a better match? So
Absolutely.
don't just jump into it. It's like, I always say it's like a relationship. Okay,
Mm.
we're online dating today. And I'm going to meet Jade. Hi, Jade. Hey, will you marry me? No, no, it's hi. Can we chat for a little bit, or would you like to meet for coffee, or can we go online and we'll talk a little bit more? There's a relationship building, and I believe in building that relationship before I ask you out on a date. But then when people are on stage and they're selling, it's hello, marry me, hello, marry me, hello, want to buy my estate, like who are you?
Yeah.
That is why
And
I don't sell on stage. Make a
yeah.
relationship. If it's meant to happen, it will build, it will grow, it will flourish, and it'll be a bouquet of flowers instead of a petal. I would rather have the bouquet of flowers than one petal. So come meet me and let's see if we work well together and then see what we can do to make magic together and create something in your world to help you grow as a better speaker, as a stronger speaker, and more confident speaker, and have your message down pat so that no matter where you
Mhm.
are, when you speak it, people do, I want to know more about that. That kind of thing. I don't want to be a band-aid fix in your world. I want to be someone who helps nurture you through your journey in your world.
Oh, as being on the other end of that nurturing, that is very true. I know that you have like friends everywhere. Everyone likes Michelle. Let's just be like straight up with that. I know you work tightly with a lot of event planners. Now, not to throw anybody under the bus, so we're not going to name names, right? But what is their biggest complaint when they hire speakers and they do a poor performance or they won't have them back, no matter how good or bad they were? What is that thing that is killing people's careers in the speaking world?
Well, actually, there's two things that I know of. Number
Do
one,
it.
prima donnas. Do not be a prima donna.
Hmm.
I'm like, Gary Barnes. I'm like Gary Barnes. I'm always early. I
Mm-hmm.
help with the setup. I'll put out, help hand out things. I'm part of the team.
Right.
I'm not just the speaker. So if you are a speaker, one of the things that people complain about, event planners complain about, is prima donnas. They don't expect you to come and help, but they don't want you to come and do, hey, where's my water? Hey,
Mm-hmm.
you're not that special. Remember that whole thing we say, no one's better, no one's lesser?
Truth.
You are part of a team to make whatever that company you're speaking for, whatever that is, look good. Number one, you're making that event planner look good. Whoever
Right.
hired you, you want them to look amazing. The other thing I know that they complain about is someone who's not prepared. So when they
Mm.
come on, they do, I'm going to be talking about this. And so they advertise and advertise about you talking about the subject. And then you get there and you ramble off into something else and never get to that subject, or you go over time.
Yes.
Time is a no-no. Don't ever go over time because it affects everybody. So
Right.
actually, I just told you three. Don't be a prima donna. When you say you're going to talk about something, talk about it. Get to the point. And number three, don't don't abuse your time. If
Mhm.
anything, use less time and say, I finished early. If you have Q&A, that's great, or whatever. I think those are three.
I always finish early. I think part of it is because I'm numbers dyslexic and I always have like an actual physical ticking clock in front of me. I literally bring my own. Even though they have those really cool like digital timers, I get confused. I was just like, why is it S o'clock? Like it's just how my brain works. But I always go under because I talk much faster when I'm on stage and I'm more nervous. I get to everything and I'm like, okay, I don't want to do Q&A and I don't want to be up here anymore. So let's break for lunch early. And that's kind of like my thing. But yes, I mean, Michelle is always so good about her time. And when she's talking about being there and helping, I mean, it can be something as small as just handing out your own print material so that someone else doesn't have to do it. And that is also, I saw you do something like that and you got a chance to kind of talk to the crowd before you got up there and warmed them up. That was a really cool thing. I'd never seen you do that before. Yes, so cool. And I tend to get in trouble on the tech side of things when I'm speaking because I'm trying to help them and making sure, like, if there's another videographer there, I'm like, okay, what do you need from me? Where do you want to stand? And at one of the events I was at, you did like, all moms have this mom face, but you're like, because I wasn't in my place I was supposed to be at. And you're like making this face, you're like, and I was like, oh, but I was just, you're like, and like she does this thing with her lips where she'll puff them up really hard. And I'm like, oh, I'm in trouble. That's like the you're in trouble face. So if she's ever coaching you and she makes that face, you have like really messed up, like badly. So that's not true. She always smiles. But the truth is yeah, you know, what she has to say is very valuable because she has all this like time and experience coming into this world. And I have to say, I'm going to be like really straight up with this. I love your media kit. It's one of the best media kits I've seen. It's very visually appealing. It has all the links, all the information. You have these little like blurbs that people can literally copy and paste and put in for events because you want the event planner to have the easiest time. And I think that's why you're so popular. I think that's why you're always getting booked everywhere. Every time I turn around, there's like, oh, Michelle Mras is speaking at this thing in Thailand or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, how does she know anybody over there? Because they all talk to each other, you know, like they're all together. And her media kit is so easy. How did you put it together? How did you know that this needed to happen? Because I see so many speakers that don't have one at all, or one that's not, you know, in any way useful.
Honestly, I made it because I have a brain injury.
That's right.
I'm serious.
Yes, I remember.
They ask me for things and I do, what? And I would have to dig for it because I couldn't remember where I put it on my computer. So what I did is I put it all on one sheet with hyperlinks so that I could find it. And then someone said, you know, that's your one sheet. And I said, oh, I was just making it easier for myself. And then I asked a friend of mine, Trisha Ventker, she does Denver Luxury Magazine. I asked her to amplify mine. So I said, you know what? I'm really busy and she's really artsy. And so I asked her to make it prettier. And so she made it prettier for me and then pulled some other things because I didn't have time to do it. And she's graphically artisty, you know, so I let her do it. But yeah, I honestly did the one sheet, not even knowing that's what speakers did. I did a one sheet to make it simpler for when someone said, Michelle, we need your bio, we need your intro. Can you do a 300 under 150 word intro? Can you give us the long intro? I mean, asked me all these things. I put it on one sheet and they have hyperlinks for all of it.
I love it. And she also, this person that designed yours is of course brilliant because everything is in your like marketing colors and fonts. And I mean, it's just so well done. And I will put that in the description below so you can absolutely see how amazing her one sheet is. But Michelle, the last thing I like to do for sure is what we call the origin story. So this is like the whole, like, you know, Spider-Man getting bitten by the spider or Batman losing his parents and he becomes Batman. Like, what was your catalyst in your story that made you become this version of yourself?
My brain injury. So in 2014 and before that, I was an auctioneer and then I ran political campaigns and wrote for politicians. I thought my place in the world was writing speeches because I'm very good with words. And I wrote for other people. And then in May of 2014, I was driving along, minding my business. I wish I had my voice. And flash, bam, alakazam, little girl ran a stop sign. She T-boned me. And that was the catalyst to bring the real Michelle out. Because in that moment, my life flashed before my eyes for one thing. But then 12 days later, I stopped speaking for 2 years. I was trapped in my body, hearing my own thoughts, but not being able to communicate. So I had a traumatic brain injury. I'm missing my frontal lobe over my left ear, the back of my head, which messes with my eyes, and my two hemispheres disconnected. So I was a vegetable. I was locked in. And I had times in the morning where I could move and do things, and then it would just stop around 1 o'clock, just gone. And so I had a lot of time to think about who I was, what I was, and realize that I've been apologizing for who I was all my life. And every day I'd look in the mirror and do, look at that. Look at, she's so fat. What are you doing? And I just would beat myself up all the time. And it was that self-reflection, realizing if I hate myself so much, why am I here?
Yeah.
And then it was like, wait a minute, but I don't hate myself. What can I do? And that's really what started all of this. I need to share with the people that are in the world before I pass away, basically, what I learned by being trapped in my mind. And it was just this, the best gift ever was to make me shut up, sit down, and listen to all those inner critics. And that's why I wrote the second book in my head during my brain injury. And then when I came out of that 2 years later, I did it in my TED Talk. And the TED Talk was my first book, Eat, Drink, and Be Merry. So yes, I did a lot of things when I should have been locked down. But I want to tell all of you, take time to be alone to find you. Take time to actually be alone with your thoughts and actually answer those hard questions. My book, It's Not Luck Overcoming You, it's basically a workbook walking you through your own inner critics, the things that say, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I listened to all those voices, I would still be in my vegetable state, sitting on my couch, not moving. Life is a choice. I had a choice to stay seated or find a way to move. And that moving every day and choosing to move every day and choosing to, feed my body right or choosing to moved me from 389 pounds to who I am now. It can be done. And don't let anyone tell you because you're over 50, you're just going to put on weight. Don't worry about that. That's crap. Don't listen to anybody. Listen to what's in your head. If your heart and your head say, let's do this, do it. One step at a time, one slight movement at a time. You will do what you want to do. But choice every day.
Every time I hear that story, it's hard to hear, that it's such an important story. I just I think it means a lot to people, and it's not just your inner critic that you've had to battle. You've had actual people come up to you and say, "You'll never be a speaker. You're too fat. You're too stupid. You're too old." I mean, I have heard these stories. I've heard these rumors, and you had to deal with actual people telling you you suck, and then your own mind reinforcing you're coming up with new dialogue of why you suck. And that's why your story, I think, is so important, so amazing for these people that should be out there speaking and doing and writing, and that they just don't feel like they can. So
Just remember, you are so unique, every one of you. And if you're out there saying, I want to be a speaker, but I'm not like, good. You don't
yeah.
feel like. And the people who say you're not good, they're saying it because they're afraid of what you can do. And that's really how I took it.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
is it? The those who can't teach judge. Like, it's very much because they can't do it. And that's something I had to learn. And that's something you got me over. I remember we talking about this, and you're like, there's people in this room here that straight up to my face said these things. You're like, I have people like that I've gone and I've done my speaking and whatever. And I was like, yeah, but there are people in here that hate me. You're like, good. Like, good. That's great. That means you're doing something right.
Let's say you keep hustling until the haters ask if you're hiring.
And this is why we call Michelle Queen. Actually, when I answer her calls and stuff, I'm like, hey, what's up, Queen? Like, I literally do call her that. And recently, I will call it recently, you've been in a movie where you were the computer, like the ones on Star Trek.
Oh, that's my latest movie. I've been in four total. I've been in 5 movies, yeah.
That's right. That's right. You've been in all these great movies. Do you mind doing the ship talking voice for us really quick so everyone can hear how good your voice is on this? Because it's my favorite.
My voice isn't in my voice right now, but let's do it.
Okay, got it.
I do. Access denied. Access granted. Or if you're in Omaha, Nebraska in the past 20 years or so, it's thank you for calling First National Bank of Omaha. If you'd like to speak to a teller, please press 1.
God, is that right? I love it. And she does this nonprofit work too. I know she worked with Richard Riemann with Imagination Video Books. Yes. So she was a voice actor on that as well. I mean, she just does, and that was a donation of your time and talent, which was so kind of you for his organization. So it's really hard to squeeze all of this, Michelle-isms into the time we have today. But is there anything that you would like to leave the audience with before we say goodbye?
Follow your heart. Just because people say you are this and they put you in a peg, but like with me, you're a speaker, stay in your lane. Yeah, I'm a speaker, but now I'm a speaker in books. I'm a speaker in movies. I'm a speaker on stage. I'm a speaker. I'm still a speaker in everything I'm doing. But be you. Be what feeds your soul. And if you are curious and you say, I might need this crazy lady to help me through this kind of stuff, go to my website. It says book Michelle. It says 15-minute free, 15-minute consultation. There's no charge. Just come on for 15 minutes, get on my calendar. We can talk. And then you can do, she's crazy. I never want to talk to her again. Or, ooh, I really like this lady. I want to know more about her. So go to my website. It's my name, michellemras.com, and connect. And let's see how I can help you. And I have a podcast called, you mentioned it, Denim and Pearls, Business Casual with Pearls of Wisdom from the Porch. It's basically entrepreneurial conversation. I talk about what me and my partner talk about what happens in the world of being your own business person, and how to balance life with that, and how it works in the pitfalls we go through. That's every week, right now, every Friday at noon. We're playing with times right now. And then I also have my TV show, which is an international internet TV called Mental Shift, and it's on the new channel, TNC, out of the Philippines. And then really, when in doubt, go to my website because everything's there.
Again, Michelle, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. You are such a wealth of knowledge, and you're very, very generous.
Thank you for having me, and reach out to me. I'm pretty nice. I might be predator-ish, but no, I'm really nice.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. And that was Influencing on Camera, the podcast.